Hey there, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back. I'm your host, Pattsun, and today we're gonna be taking a look at r/Am I Wrong, where OP discovered that his wife of 20 years was sleeping with at least 10 other men. Wow, what a hoe. Let's begin then. I got cheated on after 5 years and 1 child. Posted by Reddit user Verx Birch.
Just looking for support. Caught my fiancé cheating on me just before Christmas. We had been facing relationship issues, but had committed to doing individual and couple therapy to make things better and build a better connection. Our first session was in the beginning of November, and the very next one she canceled due to schedule conflict. Fast forward to early December, and I started to see some red flags about the way she was hiding her phone and was constantly on it, and had begun to take a lot of sexy selfies that I was never sent. We had a shared Google Photos, so I saw everything she took and didn't delete immediately. Whenever I pressed her about said pictures, it was always I took them for myself. I felt good, or our child was being needy, so I forgot to send them. Anyway, one morning I get the daily notice of new photos being available, and I checked because I always save the ones of our kiddos. First one I see is of a screenshot of a conversation with a guy. I immediately began to have a full-blown panic attack at work. In my head I knew she was cheating. Because of this panic attack, I was taken to the ER by my work because I didn't know that's what I was having at the time. I spent all day in the ER being monitored for a stroke and heart issues, as it runs in my family. She never showed up to see me or support me. I later found out she was at his over her lunch. When I got home, I pressed her about talking to this guy, and she said it was only talking, though I knew it wasn't on my gut. She said she would end it and focus on the therapy and fixing our family for the kids. Long story short, I caught her again talking to this guy, and then she admitted it had been sexual as well. This was right at Christmas time. She admitted to having sex with this guy on Christmas Eve when she went to the store for space. Again, she was going to end it and continue on with therapy. This guy got sick of her games, and she has now cheated on me with a second guy after the first stepped out, and after sitting in therapy 2 days prior, stating to the therapist that we are in a situationship, cohabitating, not seeing or talking to other people, taking time to figure out if we want to save the relationship. Needless to say, I now no longer have the desire to fix it. We have a house in both names, a shared child, and I have 3 children from my previous marriage. I have been destroyed and then strung along for a month because she didn't know what she wanted, and I was so desperate to save it, more so for the kids than myself.
OP, let me just say that she knew exactly what she wanted. She wanted Chad to commit to her before dumping your ass and taking half of everything that you own. I always wonder when I read posts like yours, what convinces people like you that there is anything left in the relationship to save after their significant others cheats on them multiple times? The trust is gone. The love is at best questionable if it even existed in the first place. I genuinely hope that you finally learned your lesson, man. Good luck to you. And now for today's second story. Am I wrong for ending a 20-year marriage because I learned that my wife cheated on me while we were dating? Posted by Reddit user Particular Library.
My wife and I have been married for 20 years. We started dating in high school when I was a junior and she was a senior. We were long distance for her first 2 years of college while I was in high school and did 1 year at community college. Then we went to college in the same city for a year and have lived together since. We got married the summer after I graduated college. Our marriage has been pretty great so far, but I imitated a divorce after I discovered that she was sleeping with multiple other men for the 2 years we were long distance. Just after Christmas, we got together with a few friends of hers from college to catch up, have dinner, and hang out. We talked about a lot of stuff, and my wife mentioned that we met in high school, not that we dated, just that we met. Her old college roommate commented that it was crazy that we met in high school, had a few wild years in college, then ended up together. I played along and commented that I didn't know if my wife was as crazy as I was. The roommate started to tell a story, but my wife cut her off and said she was uncomfortable about it. I sensed something was up, so I said that we actually started dating in high school and were together for my wife's entire time at college. All of my wife's friends got really quiet and the rest of the dinner was awkward. On the way out, one of her other roommates took me aside and said I should have an honest conversation about what happened at college. I asked my wife on the way home and she kind of blew me off. I told her it was important that she was honest with me, and again, she said it wasn't important. When we got home, I told her I was going to stay at my brother's house until she was ready to talk about what happened in college. The next day she came over and admitted to sleeping with several men during her first 2 years at college. She said she didn't consider it a big deal at the time because we were long distance, and she didn't think a high school romance would last. I pressed for more details, and she said it was at least 10 different men, including at least 3 guys she introduced to me as friends when I came to visit on weekends, and 1 guy she was still in contact with. I told her that I wanted a divorce and would be starting the paperwork as soon as I could, which I did on January 2nd. Her family and most of my family is telling me I shouldn't throw away my marriage over a few mistakes. I've stood by my belief that cheating on me with multiple men for years is unacceptable, no matter when it happened. And the fact that she continued to maintain relationships with these guys right in front of me was an unacceptable amount of disrespect. We have 2 children, but they are 17 and 19, and I believe they will understand why I need to end the marriage. Am I wrong for leaving? I feel like I'm going crazy with the amount of people telling me to overlook years of infidelity and decades of lies. Edit. Holy shit, I'm glad I did this with a throwaway because the response here is unexpected. I obviously can't answer every question and comment, but I wanted to provide some detail for common questions. The reason I posted this is that my wife and a few friends have been saying it's common to sleep with other folks when you're in a long-distance relationship, and that I'm kind of the odd one out for not sleeping around. I felt like I was being gaslit, but I wanted an outside perspective. We live in a state with a waiting period to finalize a divorce, so I felt it was a reasonable idea to get some insight before things are finalized. After these comments, I see a handful of folks saying it's normal to sleep around during a long-distance relationship, but it seems to be a significant minority. We saw each other a couple of weekends a month during the 2-year college period. I lived about 3 hours away from her college, so it was long distance but not like cross-country. This was not a situation where we went months without seeing each other. The 3 guys I met while she was in college were meetups that happened during parties. The subject of me being a boyfriend didn't really come up, so I honestly don't know if these guys knew anything. The 1 guy we're still in contact with married a mutual friend from college. This is not some guy she secretly messages on the side, it's somebody we've talked to regularly for years. I've talked to him a few times since I've learned about my wife. He said he didn't know we were dating at the time and has since blocked my wife on social media. Some folks have asked how the roommates didn't realize at our wedding that the timelines didn't work out. The main reason is that my wife and I had a very small ceremony with just close family in Texas, then went back to the East Coast to have a big party with friends. The typical reception and sharing details about how we met and stuff didn't really happen, so her roommates didn't realize we started dating before college. It sounds like they thought we only dated for the year we were both in the same city, then moved in together. I was open to therapy or some kind of attempt to save the marriage, but her insistence that this whole thing is common and I'm the one who's out of line is just too much for me. The only time she showed any remorse or even offered to reconcile was when I started filing paperwork. In the last week, she's gone back to saying she's right and I'm overreacting. This is also why I am feeling like I'm being gaslit. It seems obvious that this is a major issue, but I've got my wife and others telling me it's normal and I'm overreacting. I'm not getting a paternity test unless my kids want to get one. I don't have any doubts that they are biologically mine, and no test will make them not my kids. I love them more than anything in the world, and my wife's infidelity won't change that even if one or both of them is not biologically mine. They've been my kids for 19 years and they will be my kids until I stop breathing. Final edit. Hey all, I've been reading a bunch of the responses, but things are getting crazy and increasingly unhinged, so I probably won't be checking in more. Here are a few more answers to common questions I've seen. We were definitely exclusively dating at the time. First, dating culture was a lot different 20-ish years ago and exclusive was kind of the default for most people. Second, we had a long and difficult discussion before she left for college about continuing the relationship long distance. She specifically wanted to stay together and even joked about her dad coming after me if I started sleeping around with girls at my school. Finally, at my senior prom, she was not able to attend and was very upset when I proposed going with a platonic female friend of mine. As a result, I ended up skipping my prom and hanging out with her instead. While we never said the word exclusive, I think the above reasons, combined with the general relationship before she left, are enough to assume exclusivity. Based on some comments here, I followed up with the friend that said I should have an honest conversation. She told me that 10 guys would be on the low end, and that her biggest concern was that there was apparently at least one pregnancy scare that I didn't know about. I honestly don't think that really changes much. It's less about the number for me and more about the fact that she seems incapable of recognizing why this was wrong or why I feel betrayed. Thank you all for the helpful responses, even those that disagree with me. I will still be open to therapy if she's willing, but I honestly feel like it would be more about us being successful co-parents and finding closure than saving our marriage.
OP. Fucking a minimum of 10 other men while you are in a relationship is not a mistake. It's a choice. Plus, you are correct. It is not common to sleep with other people in a long-distance relationship. I mean, dude, she said it herself. If you were ever to do the same, her dad will come after you. OP, do not even consider getting back together with your wife. She's a hoe. All of her friends are hoes. Do not associate yourself with people like that. Stay true to your morals and principles. Your children will understand, especially if you tell them the whole truth of why the divorce is happening in the first place. Good luck, man. Viewer support is the best way for me to remain independent and continue bringing you these daily videos, which will always be here on my channels for you to watch absolutely free. So please consider subscribing to me on Rumble and on YouTube. Both will be linked in the description box down below. Thanks for listening, everyone. If you even somewhat enjoyed today's story, make sure to give this video a thumbs up, and if you really like it, consider subscribing to PattSun to never miss a future upload. Stay strong.